Hello and welcome to NYFA's Homeownership video series. This is developed to provide information and educational opportunities to our current and future homeowners in recognition of National Homeownership Month. NYFA provides educational opportunities throughout the year in many formats. This year we've adapted to our new social distancing guidelines and created this video series. We have many great sponsors and exhibitors that partner with us for our events, and we want to say thank you to Charter West Bank and the Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy Office for being great partners. With us today from the Energy Office is Energy Technical Advisor Bruce Hauschild to discuss ways to make your home more energy efficient. So take it away, Bruce. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Bruce. I'm going to start off here with a little PowerPoint. I was in a bit of a hurry today, so I didn't get it all put out. This is a picture of our website, and it's neo.ne.gov/programs/loans/loans.html. And as you can see on here, we have, and this is terrible, energy efficient housing loans. And let me see if I can. Right here, there's energy efficient housing application guidelines. And those are guidelines we use in our energy efficient housing program. We offer a 1.5% interest reduction below current Freddie Mac rates on your long-term financing if you build to those guidelines. And those guidelines are also a good source for you to see what you can be doing on your house. I think one of the first requirements is that your windows meet a minimum U value of 0.26. Now, what's a U value? Well, U value is the inverse of R value. We all know that if we have good R value in our walls, it resists the heat going through them. Well, if you take 1 divided by R, that gives you the U value. And the U value is the ability of that wall to conduct heat through it. Think of electricity. Electricity doesn't flow good through plastic, but boy, it flows good through copper. Copper would be your high U, or yeah, your higher U value. Think playing golf instead of basketball. U values you want lower. If you go on the Energy Star website, and that's just energystar.gov, and in the middle they have a little ticker tape that goes across the screen, and you'll see the term most efficient. A lot of people don't realize there are 2 ratings for Energy Star, and the better rating is the most efficient. If you click on there, you'll find windows that have a U value of 0.20 or less. I said that was an inverse of R value. That's like having an R value of 5, okay? Very good windows in the most efficient category. All of the appliances, everything in that most efficient category is good. And you can go on through our guidelines then, and you know, you can check other things that might be applicable to your existing home, or if you're thinking about building a new home and you don't want to use all of our guidelines, please feel free to use those guidelines, you know, as kind of a checklist. Should we do this or shouldn't we? Something new, and you'll see a change to those guidelines in the next few months, I hope. But we want to include outlets in the garages for electric vehicles, and that'll be an addition here. We want to include strength in our ceilings for possible solar. I just did my solar this year. I waited long enough that the 30% tax credit went down to 26, and that got me going. But I love it. It's really contagious. I want to check that all the time and see how much energy I'm making it. But and that's something we have. In addition to our energy efficient housing, we have a low interest loan program for just about anything you want to do to your home. And one of those things is solar. You can our loan rates right now are 3.5% to 5, and that depends on your lender. Your lender can make you a zero interest loan if he wants to. It's not going to make much money that way, but he's allowed to. He just can't exceed 5%. And then also we have loans for lighting, for appliances. Now on the appliances, the term on those loans is only 5 years. That's different from the other items that we consider pre-approved projects. In other words, as long as it meets this minimum criteria, you can go out and get a loan for that. Now, I should tell you, don't sign a contract, don't make a down payment. That ruins your eligibility for this loan program. But as I said, we have appliances, we do windows, doors, wall and ceiling insulation projects. You know, if you want to have an insulation contractor come out and check your ceilings, make sure you're up to an R60 is probably the maximum right now. But you have to be careful. You don't want to overload that ceiling. Okay, check your drywall, is it a 1/2 inch or 5/8, and then look up the weight limits and match that. Typically 10 inches for cellulose, 14 or 15 inches for fiberglass. You're probably going to be okay on those weight limits. And that's what you want to look at. If you crawl up in your attic and you see 4 inches of cellulose or maybe 8 inches of fiberglass, this is a good place for you to save some energy dollars, to lower your energy bill without spending a lot of money. My daughter and I did my attic. She ran the hose up into the attic hole for me, and I got out there and blew the insulation in. And most of your Lowe's, Menards, Home Depot, I believe they all offer that blowing machine for free if you buy enough insulation, or you can rent it as well. But if you want to save a little money, do it yourself. I highly recommend wearing goggles. We didn't do that, and our eyes were really red when we got done. And a mask, you know, just a painter's mask is okay. If you got something, you know, the more the better on that. Want to be safe. And then we have Form 2. I just covered that. There is a separate Form window door, Form 2 roofing, and Form 2 siding. So if you need your roof repaired, that's a good time to check that insulation, because if you add a minimum of R20 to your roof, we'll cover the shingles as well on that project. Shingles and siding, neither one of those are going to help you a lot with your energy bill. But if you add insulation, then it will. And when you do siding, there's no reason why you can't put 1 inch of foam board behind there and add an R10 to your walls. Actually, that R10, when it's continuous like that and isn't broken up by the 2x4s in your walls, is probably about equivalent to an R15 of insulation. So basically on the old 2x4 walled houses, you add that R10 on the outside, you just doubled your wall R value. We also require on that you do check the insulation cavities, and you do have to fill them if you're doing a project like that with siding. Form 3 is our heating and cooling projects. You know, need a new furnace, need a new air conditioner or heat pump. You can get a loan for that. And then we also have Form 32 and 33. Form 33 is just an energy billing history. Form 32 is a do-it-yourself energy audit. And we're kind of proud of the fact that if you find a project you want to do and it has a simple payback, and by simple payback, I mean without using interest calculations, just on energy dollars, if it pays you back in 10 years or less on most projects, we'll fund it. 15 years or less on building systems, and 5 years or less on appliances, although I think the appliances are pretty well covered. And, you know, if you just go to our website and just go down through those forms, it'll remind you of the things that you can do to your house to make it more efficient. And one of our main motto is turn it off. You know, that's the fastest way to save energy. Flip that switch or pull that plug. And after that, then I think for housing, you know, there's also infiltration, you know, stopping that cold air in the winter or warm air in the summer from leaking into your house, and your conditioned air, the air you've already paid to condition, from it leaking out of the house. If you hire a man with a blower door, and this is nothing more than a sheet of canvas on a frame that fits in your front door, and there's a blower, a fan on it, and they measure the leakage in your house. Now, if they combine that with an infrared camera, you can walk around the house and you can point that camera and you can just see the warm air or cold air leaking into your house from that blower door. And that's a great way to really save some money without doing a lot to your house. Just a caulk gun, get out there and close those gaps up, or close them from the inside, either way. Typically we do that on the outside, but it works. Save you a lot of money. Now, you also want to be careful with that if you get your home too tight. We had sick building system or back in the 60s, they were building houses too tight. If you get your house too tight, put in an energy recovery ventilator or heat recovery ventilator, bring in some fresh air into the home. And actually our codes right now are right at that point. If you're at 3 air changes per hour or less, you really need to start looking at bringing some fresh air into that home. And that's another thing the blower door checks, how much that house is leaking. And you can't get them too tight. And that's really about all for me then today. Insulation, that's the number one. That'll pay you back the fastest. Heating and cooling would probably be the next step to take. Increase the efficiency of that equipment when you go out and get a bid. You know, if you meet our loan program requirements, that's pretty good. But again, Energy Star most efficient. That's a good place to go and look for the more efficient equipment. They do a good job of listing that for you. Anything that meets our loan program requirements typically meets the federal tax credit requirements. So that's another good reason to follow that program, get a little money back. And that's it for me today, unless, John, if you have any questions.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Bruce. So
Sure.
clearly a lot of information. I learned a lot just sitting here taking some notes about our value and you value. And
Okay.
the nice thing about this, folks, is that Bruce has offered his phone number. So if there's any questions that you might have
Yep.
after this, it's 402-471-3351. So I live in a house, an old house, 1913. It's, you know, it's got the same windows. And, you know, as you were talking about looking at, you know, air kind of coming and going, I'm not worried about the house being too tight. So, you know, getting that caulk gun out and trying to fill as many holes as possible. But I do notice that second floor, it is really hard to get that cold air up there. And, you know, at night, it just seems like the attic, I don't know, the heat in the attic escapes, and, you know, 10 o'clock at night, our upstairs is hot. So suggestions you might have to think of?
Well, and we talked about this a little the other day. If on your thermostat, there's that one switch that says fan, off, and auto.
Yes.
And everybody runs it on auto.
Yes.
If you flip that to on, that fan will keep the air in your house circulating. And a lot of times you can get that hot room or that cold room in the winter to stay a little warmer or a little cooler, depending on what you want, just by flipping that switch. I told the lady that once. She called me back the next day and she was so happy. That room was just so nice now.
Oh, good, good. So, but insulating is good, you know, and not just insulating the attic, but the walls, obviously you had mentioned.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in an older home, even if they've told you that the walls are insulated or were insulated when it was built, sometimes that insulation can settle. And getting an insulation contractor out there to check your walls, the insulation is the best thing. I mean, granted, flipping that switch on the thermostat, that's a pretty easy fix, but if you still don't have insulation around that room, it's going to continue to be the big loser in your house. So
Yeah.
insulation is very important. That's my main go-to.
Okay, and I think we might have talked about yesterday when we talked was folks that might put in, I think you refer to it as a mini split or a huge air conditioning system that kicks on and blows cold air, that there can be condensation issues and potential mold problems, right?
Right. It's not necessarily the cause of a mold problems. It can be. Okay. Mold requires three things. It needs darkness, it needs moisture, and it needs food. Well, our house is the food, so it's got plenty of that. Darkness, you know, I guess we could put lights in all the little cracks and crevices in our house, but probably be easier if we just remove the moisture. And you do that with your air conditioning. So, you know, throwing another air conditioner up into that one room, it takes the load away from your main air conditioner. It also adds more air conditioning. So now these two, they cool off really quick. They don't run a long time. Call it short cycling. Now that does a couple of things. Number one, it's hard on your equipment to turn on and off. It's just like city miles versus highway miles for a car. So we don't want that. Number two, if it's turning on, cooling the room off quickly, and then shutting off again, it doesn't have time to remove the humidity in the air. And the best way to figure that out is simply by getting a humidistat. On my own home here, I have a Wi-Fi stat. I can check my thermostat from the office if I want, just on my phone. And the guys, you know, they installed my unit and they says, oh, by the way, we gave you an upgrade on your thermostat. And I'm like, oh, I don't want another input. But the thing was hitting 80% on the relative humidity, and that's terrible. That's mold growing right there. That's mold growing weather. So I ended up just turning the fan down on my air conditioner so it ran longer.
Okay.
I did buy a new smaller compressor or condenser, that's the outside unit, and put it on. And I had even downsized that when I put the first one on. But, you know, I was bullheaded and I don't care. So I replaced that. Well, the guy turned all the fan settings up because that will get you more cooling out of it. And he was afraid I was going too small. I'm still getting 80%, so I turned all the fan settings down and I went from 80% all the way down to 55%. I haven't had an 80% reading since that, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah,
it does work.
Well, you know, it's nice to have people to reach out to and get answers because it's a lot for homeowners to do. But it's also good to see your website and know that there's hope for, you know, loans and support. And I was looking at your website shortly before we started this today, and it's user friendly. You can access it just like you said. You just kind of go down the left side and look at what you need. So. Is there, you know, like I said, your number, we'll have that, and your PowerPoint, I like that at the beginning. We will make sure that image is on this video for folks. But
okay.
Anything else you'd
like to
share?
If you cover up the face, that'd probably be a big improvement there.
No, we do appreciate your time today, though. So,
more than happy to. I enjoy this job. I enjoy helping people save energy.
All right. Well, thank you again, Bruce. Again, Bruce's number is 402-471-3351, and he's with the Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy Office. That website again is deo.ne.gov. We
NEO.
also, oh, what's that?
NEO. N
Right.
is in Nebraska, E is in energy, O is in office. That was
Oh,
our old name. We merged with the Department of Environmental Quality last year, and that
oh, okay.
turned us into DEE, Department of Energy, and the Department of Environment and Energy.
Okay, got it.
But this still the same old website, neo.ne.gov.
Okay.
/programs, or maybe it's backslash, programs/loans/HTML. Do that twice. I'll
Got
put
it.
up the PowerPoint again.
There you go. Well, we won't steer you wrong. So great. Thank you again, Bruce. And also we want to just wish everyone a happy home ownership month and encourage you to check out all of our videos for a chance to win a prize. All you have to do is watch the NYFA home ownership video series. New videos will be published on NYFA Housing every Friday in June. So we'll have one tomorrow. So thanks again, Bruce. We really appreciate it.
You bet. You're welcome anytime.
All right. Take care.
You bet. Bye-bye, John.
Bye-bye.